Today's Next Tip Tuesday, we're going to be making sliders that you can also add some tab number 4s to make them into body mounts for your hard body. These are the tube sliders. I showed how to make these a few months back on one of our Next Tip Tuesdays. So besides the sliders, I have 4 pieces cut for mounting to the electronics tray of our element here. They're approximately 30 millimeters long. And then I have some tab number 4s and tab number 2s. Tab number 2s are going to be brazed onto the slider like so. And if you're wondering, these are 3/16 square rod. So the reason I went with these is they fit in the groove real nice. So when getting this all set up, we're going to put the stock slider screw and 3 button head through our tab number 4, and then we're going to screw it into the stock location. Just run that down real quick. You don't have to go super crazy on the tightness, just kind of make sure you get your tab square. You know, you don't want it all cockeyed in there. And then you're going to take the 3/16 square, or you can use rod also. I just like that the square is the same shape as the slot. So we set that in there, and then we're just literally going to throw a tack on that with the MIG welder. Alright, with the weld magnet in place, grounding our piece, we can tack it in. Alright, because I have a real tight area where this is going to be mounting in, I don't want to fill it with wire feed MIG and build it up too much, so I'm actually going to braze the tab onto that 3/16 square. And I'm going to use my flat vise, and I'm just going to start to get a little red. So. And I do like to flex the rod so I can add a little bit more to my piece, just to make sure all the contaminants are gone and my filler rod will stick. So I think it should take it now. There we go. Basically the filler is going to stick where it's hot. Alright, so as you can see, we've got the mounts cleaned up and installed on all 4 sides. So we can set our body on. Make sure you have it centered over that front wheel arch, just to make sure everything's lined up. And then next we're going to mount our slider. I also want to make sure your body's centered on the chassis. So then next we're going to set our slider angle, which is going to be about equal with the flares on this specific body. Alright, so we have everything set up in place. We've got our magnets stuck to the table, which is going to ground our slider. Let's remove the body very carefully so nothing moves. And then we're going to throw a couple of tacks. Okay, so we got it tacked into place. We've got the wheel arch centered over the front wheel. Not worrying about the back because this does need to be shortened for this body. But anyway, so now we've got that tacked up, and now we can do the other side. Alright, so we've got this tacked in place, and then we're going to braze the bottom edge. So let's throw it in the vise. And when you're doing brazing and stuff, whenever everything flows, with gravity, it's going to go down. So I have the open part of my joint up, and the tacks that I made on the bottom. So as I heat it up and get ready to braze, it's going to draw, or the filler's going to fall down. A little red. Drop on there. There we go. I would try to get a tighter camera and go in here, but I don't want to melt. There you go, you can see where we just brazed. And now to the other side. Alright, so with the sliders brazed in place, next we're going to add tab number 4.1. So this has a little notch out in it. So this will actually sit on those pieces of square bar in there. And the reason I'm using this one is it's nice and short, so it's going to kind of hide the body screw. It is going to be a screw through the body, but it's going to be, right between those rails. So next we're going to set that up, and mark it. Alright, so with the body exactly where we want it, I've gone in and marked with the Sharpie right where the body meets on the rails in all four corners. Then we can take the body off and then we can get these tabs set up and weld them in. Alright, so we have everything set up in place. We have our slider magneted to the table, and we also have the tab held with those long forceps, so we don't have any magnetism interfering with the welder. And then I'm just going to sneak in there and tack the tab in place where we marked it. Just a tiny little tack. So we're going to go back and braze these too. Okay, so all of our tabs are tacked in place so we can test fit the body just to make sure everything works before we do the finished braze. So set the body on, get it centered, get it square over that front axle, and everything looks how I'd like it to. So you can see the tab up against the body there. So there is going to be a little spacer between the tab itself and the body, and there's actually a nut that I welded onto there too. Alright, so setting up to braze those tabs that I just set in here. Now the cool thing with this vise is you can use it on different angles. So obviously you have the down flat side here, but opposite of the crank there's another large section, so you can just tilt it upright. That way you can get a better angle at, say, doing stuff like this. You can see the clearance. This M3 screw fits right between those rails, and it's going to be kind of hidden. I mean, obviously you're going to see it, but it's in a location that's kind of be covered up most of the time by this bar here. So minimal screws, but screws nonetheless. So these sliders will allow you to attach any hard body to any build really. So this is just a simple procedure. As these were specifically on the Element, once again, to show you the bottom, we attached them with some tab number 4s and some, actually they're all tab number 4s, and these body mount tabs here are also tab number 4. Thanks for watching. Next Tip Tuesday.